Hi, and thanks very much for joining me. I'm Dean the Vaping Biker, and today we're going to be looking at a little flavour chaser, a little 22mm RDA from CoilArt that is it's a nice little single coiler, very restricted lung hitting, or kind of a loose mouth to lung if that's the sort of thing that floats your boat. But it's very affordable and it's not half bad. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at the DPro Mini from CoilArt. Let's get stuck into it. Come on then! So I've had this little RDA now for a little while, and I've been trying to get the video out for the last week or so, but I'm pleased to finally be able to bring it out to you guys. Now then, let's have a little look at the RDA itself, and then we can have a little run through the specs, shall we? The DPro Mini is 22mm by 23mm. It's made out of 314 stainless steel, and it's obviously a single coiler. Now then, it says that it has a deep juice well, and the juice well is okay for these kind of things, but you don't want to go too crazy on that juice, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We have 3 airflow holes each side of the deck. Now that obviously feeds the air directly to the coil, or just underneath the coil. Now each one of those holes I've measured to be about 1.4mm. This is a postless deck, so you will have to measure out the length of your coil legs and make sure that you get those coils exactly situated where you want. Although, very handily, CoilArt have put the little divots either side of the deck for you to be able to rest your coiling rod in. And those are the basics. That's all you need to know for the moment. So let's have a little look and see what we get in the package, shall we? The picture of the RDA on each box does represent the colour of the RDA. Now I don't know if that works with all of the other colours in the range, but on the 2 that I've got, that's certainly the case. Looking at the front there, fairly straightforward, nothing to get super excited about. If we turn the box over, we've got, it says that you get the 1 DPro Mini, the 510 curved drip tip, a 510 mouth to lung drip tip, and an accessories bag. You actually get 3 drip tips in this one. Spinning around the box, there's a little signifier to tell us what colour RDA we've got, and on the side of the box there it does show that it's a 22mm atomizer. Now bear in mind that the picture of the RDA deck on that the side of that box shows the white/opaque O-rings, and we'll certainly talk about those later because luckily this does not have those anymore. Opening up the box, it does tell us that we've got a user manual. Obviously it's not really a user manual, but it's just more like pictures and telling you what each section is called, but that's that. Then we've got a qualified certificate, so a QC, a little thing to say that it's passed the QC. We've got the extra of a pre-cut fused Clapton, which is an N80, and so props to those guys for actually putting the material of the coil in there as well, so I'm very impressed with that one. And we do have a bunch of wick as well. We've got an Allen key for when we're putting in the coils, although I use a 1.5mm Allen key and my normal long-handled affair that I got from Amazon, and that seems to work perfectly fine. And then we've got the spares. Now in the spares pack you do have the extra drip tips. Now we've got the short little fat one that you get installed into the RDA to start with. We've then got sort of a thicker fat one with a bigger hole in it, and we've also got a mouth to lung shaped one, which I've got to say is quite comfortable on the lips. Now the weird thing that we get here is when it comes to the spares for the deck of the RDA, we get more of these crap O-rings, the white/opaque ones. And we will talk about that again later on. Now we do get a squonk pin in there as well as some extra post screws. And that's it. It couldn't really get any easier. There's not really a hell of a lot of things that you can put in a box like this. You do get 3 drip tips, you do get some spares, although as I said we'll talk about those O-rings shortly, and it's it does what it says on the tin. Now then, let's get into the build on this one. The build is super straightforward. However, please be aware that when you're wrapping that coil initially, rather than an overhand wrap, rather than a clockwise wrap looking at the coil, you want to go in the reverse direction. So you want to have an underhand wrap, and that'll make sure that the legs of those coils are situated exactly where you're going to want to put them. So for this build, this is going to be for the stainless steel non-squonking one. I've already got one set up for squonking and I'll talk about that later. But for this one, we're going to use stainless steel 24 gauge. We're going to give it an underhand wrap. We're going to space the coils by pulling the legs apart and then pushing them back together again. Do that a couple of times and we've got a nicely spaced coil we can use. Then I'm going to pull the legs a little bit away from the coiling rod. This is going to give me just some nice straighter legs to work with. And then I'm going to cut the legs at what I think is the appropriate length. Now I have put a lot of coils in this, so I've had a bit of experience by doing so. Once I've done that rather, I'll then just place that coiling rod in between the divot, if you like, in the sides of the deck, and then I'll just tighten up the Allen key grub screws that are underneath the deck. Once that's done, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a fire. You don't really need to pre-fire spaced coils. However, I'm going to do it just to get rid of any kind of grease or muck or anything that the wire has accumulated over its time. Then when it comes to getting the wick in there, dead easy, bang your wick in, cut it not far outside of the deck itself, and then it's just a cheeky little bend in. And that's it. How easy is that? So what I've done there is I've got that little puppy on top of the little foot mod from Wake Mod Co. This little dinky little puppy, because that just looks to me like a gorgeous little tiny little cheeky setup. And I'm running this. That coil came out to be 0.32. I'm running it at 30 watts and marvelous. Like I said at the start, it is a very restricted mouth to lung. Now the black one, I have got that set up on top of my Vicious and 21700 spade, and I've got the funky drip tip situation going on the top of that one. Now, if I can kind of show these to you like so, hopefully that'll go into focus, and it has. So you can see what the different drip tips look like when it comes to adding height and so on. But I will say that this drip tip is actually crazy comfortable. I've got a spaced 26 gauge in here, and this is coming through at 0.55. And the flavour is banging. I really do like the flavour on this. I really, really do. Now, when I close off those 3 air holes, so I've just got 1 air hole each side, I can still direct lung hit. It doesn't make a huge difference, and this is kind of a little bit weird that when you've got 3 air holes a side open, comfortable, very restricted lung hit. Have 1 airflow hole a side open, it is more restricted, but not quite as much as you would think. Bearing in mind that you're cutting like 2/3 of the airflow out, you would think that it's a lot tighter, but I don't really think it is. So I wouldn't say this is a true mouth to lung, but if you do like a looser mouth to lung, then this one could be for you. On the CoilArt website, these are coming through at $28.99, so I'm sure a little bit of Google Foo will be able to find you a bunch of these all over the place. If not quite yet, then very, very soon. But for a cheap and cheerful restricted lung, either just a little tiny dripper or to stick on your nice little squonk mod, then I think this is a really good value for money little RDA. Now, what do I not like about it? This can't be all positives, otherwise I wouldn't be doing my job. So, the initial one that I had of these had the white or opaque O-rings that weirdly you get in the spares, and they were crap. They were really, really bad. They were crazy loose. I don't think I've got it here so I can show you, but they were ridiculously loose. So the top cap just would not stay on in the slightest, and that was super annoying. However, I fed that back to them, and I'm sure other people did as well, because I got feedback from CoilArt that they were going to change them, putting in these black O-rings, which are absolutely better. They're still not perfect, but I can hold the mod by the top cap and it's not falling off, which is much better. It's still, you know, I mean, it's still loose enough to be able to move easily, but it's not too loose, and that's the main thing. Now then, one of the other things that I've found with this one is the coil legs seem to want to have a slight difference in height, and that seems to be, I don't know if it's got anything to do with the fact that the positive aspect of the deck is raised somewhat higher than the negative. I don't know if that's the case, but it has taken on a few occasions a little bit of kind of jiggery pokery to make sure that I get the right coil length leg, right length leg on the coils. There we go. And I've also found that with 26 gauge or thinner wire, that can be a little bit of fiddling around to get it to get caught, and that's because the coil holes, or the deck holes are quite wide, and so if you're putting flattened Claptons in or something along those lines, no problems at all. But if you do use a thinner wire, occasionally you will have to be a little bit more careful, but that's really, you know, that's just part of learning to build on the RDA, so nothing that I would consider a huge negative. Otherwise, all in all, to be honest, I'm finding it hard to really come up with any kind of downsides for this little RDA. I think it's a great little flavour banger. Can you over squonk? If you just pour your juice in and it's particularly thin, then it could come out of the holes, but you've really got to put a lot of juice in there for that to happen. Over dripping, a little bit more so. You do have to be a little bit more careful with over dripping, but you know, this is a little tiny RDA. We've seen this kind of thing before, like back in the day with the Derringer and things. You could over drip, although having said that, you are going to have a lot of space in there to pop your wick, and then you can kind of drip to your heart's content. And to be honest, I've not really found that to be too much of a problem. I do enjoy using this more so for squonking, but that could just be that I'm all about the squonking these days. Who knows? Who knows? But this isn't going to be for the big old cloud chasers. This is not going to be for you high power monsters. This is going to be for people that like a nice gentlemanly vape, or ladylike vape, depending on, you know, don't want to assume gender, and don't want to be spending too much money. So if you like the idea of making your batteries last longer, making your juice last longer, and getting a little flavour banger without impressing your friends with a huge willy winging competition, then this could be for you. Marvellous. Right, that's it. Thank you very much. I've been Dean the Vaping Biker. These have been the CoilArt RDAs. Oh, I didn't tell you. They come in a bunch of different colours. So I'll throw up those colours somewhere on the screen now, but I couldn't see them on their website. So I don't know if they're going to be a thing. And I thought they were going to be doing some funky little caps for them, but I haven't seen those either. Anyway, who knows? For the price, banging little RDA. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Dean the Vaping Biker. These have been the CoilArt DPro Minis from CoilArt. I'm going to go and have a lay down. I will see you very, very soon. A bit larger.